Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. For those of you who are new around here, I'm Sophie Paterson, interior designer, and with me today we have Anthony, back by popular demand. If you haven't seen our last video, Anthony joined me for a video all about lighting, and you're just an endless source of inspiration and knowledge, so we thought, you know what, let's get him back.
Pleasure to be here.
So before we dive straight in, we've had a really busy week, haven't we, Anthony?
We have not long since got back from the Middle East.
Yes.
So yeah, kind of eyes kept up.
Yeah, if you could just Photoshop the bags and open my eyes. And if we don't look smiley, we're really happy, we're just exhausted. Yeah. But we had a great trip, didn't we? It was so, I don't know about you, but I just felt like more in love with my job than ever.
Yeah, it was a great, I think it was a great trip, great local team. And amazing clients as well. They were just great.
This project behind me, this family home in London that we designed, we completed this last year, and a lot of you regular viewers might have noticed we never did a video on it. That is because we started this project 4 years ago, before we had Ollie and the team, before we filmed all of our projects. We were allowed very kindly to photograph it. So what we thought we would do today is do a behind the design, using all the photographs and some of our elevations, some of the site progress videos and images, and tell you a bit about this incredible project that we did. It was a huge house, I mean, absolutely enormous, wasn't it? So we can't do the entire thing. But Anthony's picked some of his favourite rooms that we're going to go through and share some of the details with. What room are we starting with?
So we are going to start with the entrance hall, which is this space just here, and this is, you know, the main focal point of the whole house. It set the tone for the entire project. You know, the clients wanted it to be this wow space, this amazing space that, you know, you're just wowed at as you walk in. And, you know, the architecture that we went for on the project was very, very classic contemporary, kind of our signature style, but we did tweak it in places to make it more relevant to the client. But, you know, what was interesting about this space is to offset against all of the classic contemporary architecture, we wanted to introduce like an organic take on different materials and explore those throughout the space. So you'll see just adjacent to the staircase there, we've got this olive tree bas relief, and that actually goes right from the basement. It roots in the basement, which is, you know, a little bit symbolic, and then it goes all the way up to the top of the first floor, and it's a main, you know, it's a main focal point that you see in the space. And then to link that in with the olive tree, we've also got this leaf sculpture, which is, it's not a chandelier, it's an actual sculpture of handmade, I think they're porcelain, aren't they?
Yeah,
handmade porcelain leaves that are suspended, and they're suspended all the way from the second floor. So you've got all these interlinking elements going throughout this entrance hall, which spans from, you know, basement right up to second floor. So it's a really interesting space. Yeah. And it was just really special. It
was all about bringing nature inside, wasn't it, and softening the space, which is something we're always looking to do. And I think why I'm so excited to share this project is that with every project we do, although we have our signature style, we do love adapting to different styles. We've done some very varied projects over the years that if you've watched this channel for a while, you'll recognise. But we always want to take it to the next level, and I feel that this was a project and a client that was so trusting that really allowed us to take it to that next level. Yes. And the detail that you went into, I mean, I remember when we were designing this floor pattern in the studio, the amount of times I saw you on AutoCAD rejigging that layout. I wish, like, this is what I really want to get across with this channel, is that there's so many programs out there that don't do justice to the design process. So I can't even get my words out, I feel so passionate about this. But to get to this stage is years and years of work for a whole team of designers. Every single detail you see here will be elevated. Nothing happens just by chance or coincidence. So Anthony was really leading this project, so you'll really get to see some of that nitty-gritty and some of the work that goes into it. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. You carry on.
Yeah, that's great. And then, you know, one thing as well, I think, you know, this is where we changed up the classic contemporary aesthetic. We were quite inspired on this project by American architecture, and, you know, Americans are known for their, you know, detailing on the flooring, use of mosaics, things like that. So, you know, that's where we've got the aesthetic for this custom marble floor in the hallway there. and that also carries on in the basement level as well. And this is the only two areas in the house where you get to see that level of detail. But yeah, like Sophie says, painstakingly, I went through lots of different designs. We started from, a very simple diamond pattern, and then we wanted to kind of accentuate it a little bit more. And yeah, it took a lot of time to try and draw that off, but was very, very pleased with how it turned out.
Yeah, it paid dividends. Another one of my favourite things in this house is that, and then we try and do this with a lot of our projects, is we want them to feel very elegant and grand, but we also want them to feel homely and inviting, and a practical space as well. There's a young family that live here. And I love how we've combined, the real grandeur of that marble staircase and marble entrance floor, but then we've done the runner, which is quite rustic really. It's not necessarily what people would envisage putting on that staircase, but I feel like it's all about combining high, very sort of clearly luxurious items with some things that are a little bit more downplayed and more simple. So talk us through the runner. What was your thinking there?
Exactly. Well, so again, like Sophie says, it's all about balance in our projects and utilisation of tactile materials. So you can see there's a lot of hard surfaces in this hallway, and and lots of shiny marble. And with the flat weave stair on it, we just wanted something that just felt nice, tactile and grounding on your feet.
What I love about this image is it shows really nicely the roof lantern that you designed. Talk us a little bit about that roof lantern, why we decided to go down that route.
Yes, so what was quite clear from the very beginning of the project is we wanted something unique and something organic as well, that was suspended throughout the whole space, from second right down to ground floor. There's actually a skylight above that frame that we have in the ceiling there, and that was posing a lot of challenges in terms of how and what we used in the space to create the interest that we have here. So we went through loads of different options, but chandeliers. If you do a chandelier across a skylight, you generally have to have
that ugly metal bar.
Yeah, a metal bar, something suspended from that bar, and it wouldn't have been what we have here. So what we actually decided to do in this space is create a false skylight. So we had the manufacturer of this light create this bespoke bronze frame that you see right at the top of the space. And then we had frosted perspex, and you'll see with these leaves, I think it was about 600 leaves that we've got, and they're all suspended from these individual gold threads, and so there's unique little perforation points in the perspex where all of the leaves are suspended from, and it just creates something really, really unique. It was really, really interesting seeing it get installed, because they had to start at the top with a scaffolding tower, right from, the scaffolding went from ground floor right the way up to second floor, and each one was numbered, and they just slowly unravelled each one, and because there's some that are longer than others, and it was
so much drama.
It was like
into the room.
It was quite tense watching it be installed, because they were so high on this wobbly tower.
Yeah, but it was tense for them.
Yeah.
What I think's so great, there's two things I love about this. I'm going to call it a chandelier, even though it's not. It's a sculpture. One, I think the fact that roof lantern's backlit, I think that's so genius, because London doesn't always get that much light, and when you look at it, it just feels like sunshine's pouring through, and it really illuminates all the perlata that we've got on the wall finish. And the other thing that I love about it is when you're picking a chandelier for a staircase, generally what you find is, say if you use like lanterns, or if you're using like a cascading glass chandelier, you're going to get on one point all the interest, and then the rest of the floors it's either just chain, or you're getting like a piddly amount of crystal chandeliers. It doesn't feel that great. Whereas on every floor as you're walking up through this property, it has interest and it feels very balanced. This room was really like the heart of the home. It opens up to the kitchen. It's the area where the family feel they're going to really relax, watch movies. But it's also a room that's sort of a junction between the less formal areas of the kitchen, but the more formal areas of the dining room. So it had to be aesthetically really elegant, really impressive and beautiful, but comfortable, and a place where you can sort of chill out on the sofa at the same time. So there was a lot of considerations with designing this room.
A lot of consideration went into this space, and one thing you don't see in this image in particular, but like you said, the kitchen's just there. It links onto the dining room. We didn't want this room just to feel like a transition space. Because it quite could easily be that.
Yeah, with 3 separate entrances, and that's one thing we always try and avoid is when we've come across projects, if there's too many entrances into a living room, we always think, can we block off one? Because that will instantly make it feel more cozy. As human beings, we're naturally drawn to spaces where we can kind of shut the door and shut the world out and have some privacy. As much as everyone thinks they love these open plan spaces, you also want some spaces you can shut the world away. We've done a few extra things as well, like obviously the corner sofa is the preferred place to seat because that's like ideal viewing for the TV. But if they entertain in here as well as watching movies, we've done a couple of low stools in the foreground. And that was quite important as well, wasn't it? Because we didn't want to block the view into the room. You've got the crystal glass windows, crystal glass doors from the entrance hall side. If we'd put some tall armchairs there, that would block that view and block all the natural light from the window.
Exactly.
But they work really well for if you're having a gathering. You could sit there with a drink for like half an hour. You wouldn't want to sit there for 2 hours and watch a movie. I really want to emphasise the screens, which again are a staple of SPI, and the fireplace wall, which we went through, 15 revisions of?
Yes, although I have to say this, it's funny because, as a designer, you do get married to your designs quite a lot, but, in the early stages, we have, again, 3, 4, maybe 5 different layouts. We arrived at this one with the client, because they wanted some storage to display their beautiful accessories, photo frames, fireplaces as well in there. This space, if you notice, is slightly more contemporary than the rest of the house, and we did that for a reason, because this whole area linking through the kitchen, we didn't do any cornice that followed the perimeter of the room. We did it in these raised ceilings where we have the access panels, so we have a subtle shadow gap in the architecture going around, and that goes all the way around this TV unit, and this is the main focal point in the room. We've got this amazing cracked bronze liquid metal effect that goes around the entire elevation there, and then a big TV, because this space is all about watching TV.
How many inches is that TV?
65 inches.
Yeah.
It is.
I love a screen. Don't you love a screen, Anthony?
I love a screen, and there's such a good thing to try and incorporate into your design, because when you have these big open plan spaces, you do often want that little bit of separation without the feeling of being cut off. And that's what these do exactly. So within this area, we aligned the entire opening in like a really deep stained oak linings. And then you have 3 screens which are suspended, and they're just fixed to the floor and they're fixed to the top. And they just provide sort of separation between the breakfast area and the family room. And we quite like the geometric design of these, because it kind of plays on the geometric design that we've got within the ceiling as well and in the floor.
Yeah, we needed something that would work from the kitchen side as well as the TV family room side as well, so that kind of limited your options, because we didn't want to have like a really ornate design. We could have gone a bit more organic on this side, but it would have felt a bit awkward from the kitchen side where everything's a bit more angular. So it was about making both those spaces work. For us at SPI, we did our first screen about 10 years ago, and it was a similar reasoning behind why we did the screens as we have here. It was a project in Wentworth, and we'll share the image of that. And as you walk into the big entrance hall, you look straight into kind of a family room. It's like open plan with their living room. They kind of used it as a receiving room. They had a bar in there, but it just felt too open plan, and we wanted to kind of diffuse the view. And it's almost like when you have an interior, you want it to slowly reveal itself to you. If you can see everything all at once, it's not an interesting space. So there we did do a really beautiful organic design, and I loved that one. And if I had £1 for every time it's being copied, okay, maybe £10, I'd be retiring a lot earlier. But when I designed that layout and you drew it up for me, they have a swimming pool in their garden that's just beyond this room, and it was all inspired by the ripples of the water and the sunlight. And it's really nice when you're in that space that you can see the swimming pool with the ripples, and then you look behind you and you've got that same pattern repeated. This was just a dream room, wasn't it? You walk into this space and it just feels instantly calming. I remember on the photo shoot day, We had some really intense long days trying to capture all this house in, was it 3 days we did the shoot?
Yeah, 3 days.
And it was quite chaotic. And I remember we came into the primary bedroom and we all just went like, you just feel like the world is just like a million miles away. So let's talk about, what's your favourite thing in this room?
For me, again, I always revert back to how technical something is to achieve. But the bed and the rise and fall, although you think that the two items there that they kind of sit very well together, the client didn't want a TV that was too big at the foot of the bed, and what we wanted as well, because this bed looks right out over the garden, we didn't want to interrupt that view at all. So the rise and fall had to be a specific height. The height that we arrived at was no higher than the bed when dressed with a duvet and blanket, which is very difficult to calculate, which I learned the hard way.
Did you breathe a sigh of relief when the blankets were finally on there and it was like exact height?
Yes, I did, very much so, very much so. But also, we had to incorporate a custom bed and mattress within this bespoke frame as well, reading lights in the bed as well. Although it looks beautiful and it fits really well in the surroundings, it was a very technical bed to engineer. So for me, that was one of the items I was most pleased with in the room.
I'd say my favourite is definitely the panelling with the silk chinoiserie, and this is one of the first times we've done the combination of the panelling with the silk chinoiserie. Like, I love it, and I think it adds some structure, and it almost makes the chinoiserie feel a bit more contemporary as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And sort of things that you may look over, again, it's all about the thought that goes into it. So you'll notice on the back elevation there, where you have the wall lights and you have the mirror, when we were reviewing this with
Fermental,
we knew that the wall lights were going at a certain point, we knew the mirror was going at a certain point, so we went through about 3 or 4 different revisions of the layouts to make sure that the branches went around the wall lights, to ensure that we had this lovely cascading effect around the mirror, just to show that every little detail was considered. We're really pleased with how it turned out.
Yeah, and I think if you don't do that, it kind of upsets you when you have to put like a mirror on top of your chinoiserie and you end up cutting out some beautiful detail that you've spent a lot of money on. So it's like all about thinking, when we design the layouts with Fermental, we really make sure that we're only putting the hand-painted detail or the embroidery where the clients are going to enjoy it. There's no point having embroidery high up or hand painting behind like a big picture, because you're just wasting all that beautiful craftsmanship. So now we're moving down into the basement. I think this was probably the room that the client was most excited about, wasn't it? This was a pretty cool room. This was what they call the entertainment room, but I refer to as a home bar. Talk to us about this design, Anthony.
With this room, there was so much that had to be incorporated, and it's a very generous space, but per square foot, the space works very hard. So you've got your feature TV joinery, which has to incorporate a vinyl player. We've then got this lovely horizontal fireplace, which is an open biofuel fire. And we never used to be a fan of these because we always thought the flames were quite small and puny, but this has a great flame on it and was very pleased with it.
Can you remember the brand of it?
It was Planica. And it's electric as well, so you can actually remote control it from the couch. And
do people have to keep buying the cartridges for the fuel?
Yeah, so you do need to top it up with the fuel, but I think on this you get like 14 hours of burn time, which I think,
Yeah, it's pretty good. Just don't fall asleep and forget about it.
Well, it'll just run out, won't it?
Yeah. No, but that does look really effective. The reason why we didn't like them was we did a project in Chelsea, what was it, like 8 years ago, 7 years ago, and the developer had already put a biofuel fire in the dining room, and it was open to the living room as well. And I remember we'd never tested it the whole time we were doing the fit out and the renovation, and it came to the photo shoot, and Ray Main, our photographer, loves a fire. He makes us make fire where there is no fire. Like, we know the question's coming, does it work? And then we have to like put it on. So we put this biofuel fire on, and honest to God, it was like someone just holding a lighter. It was pathetic.
It was like this little flame.
So we ended up, we had to Photoshop a fire into that, and ever since it's stuck in my head that they're useless. But you know, technology moves on and now they're good. So Planica, if you're thinking, yeah, this is not sponsored, but Planica, if you want to like give us a few free fires, feel free.
Shouting out a good brand.
Yeah.
But you know, again, but going back to the room, we've got the TV joinery, but you know, more importantly, I think what draws your eye most is the wine cellar in here, and that's right at the back of the unit. That was again a very technical space to engineer, because we had, and I think I didn't know this in the design process, I found out afterwards, but the wine bottles are stored on individual rods, and we had over, I think it was 875 individual rods that had to be hand screwed onto the back wall there, and then
the installer hated you, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean.
We're not very popular. We're pushing the design boundaries,
yeah.
And they don't like us for it.
But, you know, but this was something that me and the client worked really hard together to try and achieve. And you know, sometimes in a project you'll always have a bit of pushback, and there's always compromise. But this was one thing that we really didn't want to compromise on, and we're really pleased with how it turned out, because it's, you know, you look at it and it's just amazing. You've got subtle lighting on the crisscross back, and the woodwork is actually floated off the back wall by 4 centimetres, which is.
And why did you do that?
Because I didn't want to see any LED strip anywhere. So whenever we design joinery, or whenever we design, you know, wardrobe space and any open shelving, always try and conceal the LED strip, because I think, you know, there's nothing really worse than looking directly at the glow of an LED, especially in a space like this when it's all about mood, entertaining, you know, really moody lighting.
I have to say, this was the most envy-inducing swimming pool, because it, honest to God, is the best pool I've ever seen. Yeah. Like, better than any hotel. How big was this pool, Anthony? Was it Olympic size? Wasn't far off, was it?
Wasn't far off. I can't remember. I think it's well over 25 metres, I think.
I mean, huge.
Yeah, huge space.
So what were the challenges when you were designing this space?
So over the years, when we were designing, you know, this space did evolve quite a lot. We had a design which had been kind of, I would say, you know, decided for the majority of the project. But I remember the client rang me one day and he said, Anthony, I've seen this piece of art. Do you think we can get it to work in the pool? And it was that piece that you see right at the end there, and.
Little did you know what was about to come your way. Talk to us about that process. Let's get up the elevations of what you had to go through behind the scenes.
One thing from the off that we always knew we wanted to do was kind of have it relate to you know, some of the other rooms in the house, because we've got, you know, panelled rooms upstairs in the house, and again, kind of following in that format from the principal bedroom. There's a study and there's also a formal reception that have panelling, and what we had the idea of initially was to do this panelled effect within marble, so that you've got the walls that flank the pool, they're clad in marble, and they've got this little bevel, just like a little subtle bevel detail on the edge where they join, and it just creates this really beautiful effect.
Well, that was the end of our little project tour of this amazing family home that we did in London. Anthony, thank you so much for sharing all those anecdotes and reasonings of the designs and why we came up with the designs that we did. I found that really interesting, and I hope you guys enjoyed that too. Make sure to share some more love with Anthony in the comments. We're going to do a curtain window treatment video next, and I think Brett's going to be joining us for that one, isn't he?
He is the in-house expert on window treatments and curtains. So.
Yeah, so Anthony is more, although their job titles are lead designers, Anthony is basically head of interior architecture at Sophie Paterson Interiors, and Brett is head of FF&E, so Brett's the perfect person to talk about window treatments. And it's something that a lot of our audience have wanted to know about for a while, so I'm excited to do that one. So I hope that you guys enjoyed looking around that project. It was one of our best projects we've ever done, and I love sharing the screen time with Anthony. I think he's so good on camera, so definitely share him some love if you enjoyed that, and we'll be sure to get him back again soon. Yesterday we had a really exciting Zoom call. Well, it wasn't a Zoom call, it was a Google Meetup with YouTube, just talking about what kind of things you could do with your channel and feedback to you. And that was so nice that, like, YouTube are sort of investing in all their content creators to sort of help us. So Ollie and I sat on this call yesterday with Kimmy, our go-to.
Our representative,
yeah. She's like, we've got direct representative, which is great. And she was talking to us about some of the new features that YouTube are really sort of focusing on. And so I just thought I'd talk to you guys about it because they had some different ideas of things we could do. And obviously I am limited on how much time I can set aside for this channel because we have a lot of other commitments as well. But one of the ideas she suggested was a live stream, which honestly like fills me with fear, but also makes me feel really excited. And I thought I would love to hear from you guys if that's something that you would like us to do. I guess it's kind of like a bit more casual because it's live, we can't edit it, so there'll probably be way more bloopers.
Talking about this outfit, it's gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. This is, well, I'm really feeling spring. I'm like, it's not spring outside, it's so cold. But as I'm inside all day today, I thought I'd wear a spring dress. This one is from Suzanne, so I'll drop a link in the description box. I just got it a couple of weeks ago, actually. I'm wearing it for a photo shoot tomorrow. I love a shirt dress because I feel like they're quite flattering and you can wear it for work and wear it like out for lunch as well. This room, when it's not being used as our YouTube studio, is actually our meeting room. This is where we do all of our client presentations. We have a meeting once a week with all the team in here. So many of our team members have dogs. Like there's almost more dogs than humans in this company. And I love dogs, but I don't have my own dog anymore. So I was like, let's get one photo of every single member of the team's dogs around the studio and in the meeting room. And honestly, like it makes me so happy when I walk around. This is Bailey, who is Sarah's spaniel. And I am very partial to a working cocker spaniel because I used to have one. We also have, who do we have on the side? Oh, this is Liz's Labrador, absolutely gorgeous. He doesn't come to work, so neither does Bailey actually, but we have 3 dogs that do come to the office on a weekly basis. We have all the small ones basically. It's just so nice, like we have this really sort of relaxed, calm atmosphere, but I feel like dogs just sort of make everyone happy. They certainly make me happy, I get my dog fix. But yeah, those frames are from the Addison Ross collection and they are all of our team members' dogs. There's some behind Ollie as well, so I'll make sure Ollie gets some macro footage so you can see all of our office doggies. Thank you to everyone who's been asking questions and sharing comments recently. There's been so many lovely comments and like I always say, I read every single one and try to respond to as many as possible. So Jane Comfort, 8 days ago, she said, "Thank you so much for such inspiring videos. Each video shows your graciousness and desire for all of us to have beautiful homes." I'm so glad that comes across because I do feel that way. "As I renovate my townhome in Charleston, South Carolina, I have one quick question. My new living space is open concept with hardwood floors throughout. I will designate a living space and a dining space with furniture configuration. I want to incorporate rugs in both spaces. Should the rugs be identical or should they complement each other with texture and colour? Thank you in advance for your responding to my question." That is a great question, Jane. And to be honest, there isn't a straightforward answer to that. I think it depends on the kind of rugs that you want to do. I would think about your living room rug first because I think there's more options available there. So if you want to do, say like a silky rug or one that has a lot of detail and texture, I would put that one in the living room because that's the one that you're going to see and enjoy the most. I think dining room rugs need to be a little bit different, and I think I've sort of changed my view over this on this over the years. So one thing that I would definitely not do for your dining area rug is don't have a silky texture, because when you move your dining chairs around that rug, it will leave little imprints. So if that's what you want for your living room, that's absolutely fine, but do a different texture for your dining area. If you want to save cost, you could always go for a more patterned and intricate detailed rug in your living area and then do something very understated for your dining room rug. I don't even think they necessarily have to be a similar texture. You know, I love a very sort of simple sisal rug. You know, I've even got it in my living room, and I think that works really well for dining areas. And I personally don't love using an expensive rug in a dining area because, you know, I've got young children, we have dinner parties where people spill things, and I would hate to ruin a dinner party by thinking, oh God, there goes my really like expensive rug that you've just spilt red wine on. I'd rather have that to be a bit more of a practical area. But certainly if it's open plan, you want to make sure that all the finishes, all the colours work throughout. So those two rugs are no different and the colours should work between them. So I hope that answers your question. Thomas McDevitt, 8 days ago, has said, how to pick a pendant with the right scale for the room. You know, I wish I had a quick answer for that question because you're absolutely right. Pendants are very difficult to sort of gain an idea of scale. You can't just look at a floor plan and see what that's going to look like. You also need to think about the elevations. So for our clients' projects, when we're designing the space, we will elevate all the walls and we'll put the chandelier or the light fitting onto that to see how it relates with all the other different aspects. If it's a living room, for example, you'd want to make sure that the chandelier doesn't interrupt with your viewing of the TV. But I think if you don't want to go to that level, and it's something that we also do on top of those elevations, is take a tape measure and hold it in the space and really walk around the room. So have someone there that's prepared to hold a tape measure up for a long time. I've got a lot of long-suffering builders that have done this to me over the years. And there's nothing quite like being in the space and seeing how that feels for the scale. And if you have, say, a light fitting above a table, it would help having that table there, or if not, mark that out with either tape or someone else holding another tape measure. It's not something that you can there's no equation for it. You can't just say, oh, it's the width of the table minus this. It's kind of different depending on your ceiling height, depending on what else is happening in that room. But you know, ask a friend or a family member to hold the tape measure for you. And if you can do elevations, great, but they're not essential. I think that's something that would be more for a designer rather than a homeowner. Gina Salib asked 2 weeks ago, thank you so much for sharing, Sophie. I'm in the process of styling my own home and wanted to have an olive tree inside. However, so many people have said to me that they are not an indoor plant and it won't survive. That is true, I would say, for the big trees. I've actually had a small olive tree that's I think I had it for 9 years, that nearly died, but then I brought it back from the brink of death. But I would say yes, as a rule, olive trees, you know, it's very hard to keep them alive, especially if you don't have a lot of natural light in your house. So the olive trees that you're seeing in my projects that you're asking about, they are all faux. And they're amazing quality. My sister, who is called Charlotte, she runs a faux florist company called Wildwood. She supplies a lot of our faux olive trees, and they're just amazing. And you can put them in different pots. You could have stones at the base or moss. I've got one in my kitchen. I absolutely love it. I think a lot of people have been scared of using faux flowers over the years because there used to be some really terrible ones. But now the quality of faux flowers is so much better. That it's not something you need to be scared of. Like, if you have the opportunity to do a faux tree, I think it adds so much interest, and it's a great way of having some greenery in your house without having the high maintenance. I personally love combining both. I've got some real fiddle figs, but yeah, it is a commitment. You have to feed them and water them, and you know, I'm a plant killer as well, so it's quite expensive. Keep buying those plants if they keep dying.
I feel like it is a good thing to have both real and fake, because there are some areas where you're just not going to get any light.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it's nice, I like having real life in my home, but I think depending on how big your house is, if you've got lots of rooms and you've got a real tree in each one, you know, that's probably half an hour every few days that you've got to spend looking after your plants, and we all lead busy lives. So I think it's a good way. And you know, in our clients' homes, they travel so much, they have really busy lifestyles. They don't necessarily have the time to be looking after plants, so we tend to do a lot of faux trees and a lot of faux plants now. But anyway, guys, I don't want to keep you too long. I've got a feeling this is going to be a very long video, but hopefully it wasn't boring. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed yet and you're interested in our content, make sure you do subscribe, especially because now we're thinking about doing these live streams. You do not want to miss out. The live stream is going to happen at some point, and if you are subscribed, you'll get a notification. And also you'll make us very happy, because we'd love to hit a next figure, maybe a nice round 200,000. But if you'd like more regular updates, we're also on TikTok and Instagram, and it's all completely different content that we share on each of those. So we'll put the links in the description box if you're interested in following there, and I'll see you very soon. Thanks for joining.